Tony.
Is he right here?
Tony.
Swing around. Swing around. Right. Right.
Here you go, right there.
Again, Jonathan Safran should be talking momentarily. These are the first words that we will hear from the Hamilton family since learning this morning that Officer Manning has not been charged in the shooting death of Dontre Hamilton. We will let the attorney take the first words.
Good afternoon. My name is John Safran. I'm honored to know and be one of the attorneys representing the family of Dontre Hamilton. I'm surrounded by other attorneys, Alex Flynn's office. Locally, we have some other attorneys in California that represent the family, and there are many members of the family as well as others that I'll identify in a short while. Dontre's shooting death has now resulted in the Milwaukee County District Attorney yet adding another decision to the list of cases around the country with no criminal charges being filed against a police officer who shot and killed an African-American male citizen. After waiting now for almost 8 months since Dontre was shot and killed at Red Arrow Park by former City of Milwaukee police officer Christopher Manny, the Hamilton family and their attorneys are extremely disappointed in District Attorney John Chisholm's decision in this case. This is a case which cries out for justice, criminal charges against Christopher Manny, and the accountability to Dontre Hamilton's family. Although his family has accomplished some amazing things which will have long-term benefits for the citizens of Milwaukee relating to the recognition of mental health issues, treatment, and police interactions, they are still a family dealing with the grief of Dontre's loss, and they long to be able to fully grieve and receive that missing accountability. Since being advised today of the state law criminal charging decision by District Attorney John Chisholm, I have been in contact with the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Wisconsin and Milwaukee, and I have formally requested that they communicate with the U.S. Department of Justice Civil Rights Division Criminal Section to immediately commence a federal investigation into this matter with the belief that federal law criminal civil rights charges are warranted in this case. Before the Missouri Michael Brown case, we had Dontre Hamilton's case. Before the New York Eric Garner case, we had the Milwaukee Derek Williams Jr. case. After the Los Angeles Rodney King case, we had the Frank Jude Jr. case in Milwaukee. We also had the case of Darius Simmons and his mother Patricia Larry and the way she was treated by Milwaukee police officers. We have many cases that have been pursued in federal court in Milwaukee right now for African-American young men who are subjected to illegal and unconstitutional body cavity and strip searches. Milwaukee has had more than its share of cases with claims of excessive force, deaths, and civil rights violations at the hands of Milwaukee and other law enforcement officers. When is this going to stop? I hope that Dontre's case will be the last one. What we have seen again around the country and in Milwaukee is appalling. Unfortunately, although seeming to get more attention recently, been aware of these cases for a long time right here in our own community. Too often without criminal charges being pursued, it is time for the federal government and the Department of Justice to initiate the pattern and practice investigation of the Milwaukee Police Department, which we have been hearing now for a number of years.
That's right.
We must have change in this city. We must all continue to make our voices heard to avoid these tragedies in the future, like what others have experienced in the past years, and like what the Hamilton family has experienced almost 8 months ago. As the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote in a letter from the Birmingham, Alabama City Jail in 1963, which is still true today, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We expect that there will be demonstrations and rallies today in the upcoming days, but we also request and demand that they be peaceful so as not to dishonor Dontre's name and the Hamilton family name. I am pleased to be joined by members today of the faith communities in the Milwaukee area, representatives of the Milwaukee branch of the NAACP, the ACLU of Wisconsin, Milwaukee Urban League, MICA, Milwaukee Matters, the Nation of Islam, Christ the King Baptist Church, Sherman Park Community Association, Coalition for Justice, the African American Roundtable, and other groups. They are here in support of the Hamilton family and the concerns which exist within our community. I'm going to turn it over briefly to Alex Flynn, one of the other co-counsel, to make any statement. Then I will turn it over to Pastor Butler of Tabernacle Community Baptist Church. We may have a couple of other statements by James Hall of the NAACP and Christopher Amity of the ACLU, and then we're going to turn it over to Nate Hamilton to speak on behalf of the family.
Thank you. Thank you. My comments will be very brief. This is the beginning of a long road. The fight is not over. The fight will continue. I will not dissemble and take point by point at this point our disagreements with Mr. Chisholm's analysis of the evidence, but other than to say, when an officer says, "So you want to fight, huh?" and then unloads 14 rounds into a citizen of this community taking a nap in a downtown park, something is wrong, and we are going to get to the bottom of it. Thank you.
Right.
Pastor Butler.
To your right.
Oh, sorry.
So we gather today in support of the Hamilton family as we respond to the county's chief prosecutor's decision not to charge Officer Manning with the death of Dontre Hamilton. And we are clear that this is a form of social death. 8 months after this family has had to deal with their harrowing experience. Their personal trauma has become our collective horror and the city's shame. And we have witnessed their pain as they have had to grieve publicly and bear the long delay in receiving the news today. Sadly, they are not alone, for they join a company of other families who have lost loved ones by officers who are sworn to protect and serve. Theirs was a low expectation that the officer responsible for the death of their loved one would face a trial by jury. Again, this low expectation could not be met. We acknowledge that the DA, in his remarks earlier this morning, says that it's hard to charge homicide when an officer does what he was trained to do. Yet we know that that conflicts with what the police chief said, who dismissed Officer Manning because he acted outside of his training. With the many conflicting reports, even in the DA's his release this morning, we believe that it bears further review. And even as he acknowledges that he cannot bring justice to the family, we've assembled to make our appeal to the federal government. We're asking United States Attorney for Eastern District of Wisconsin, James Santel, to launch a federal open investigation into the April 30th shooting death of Dontre Hamilton by then Milwaukee Police Officer Christopher Manning. Because the shooting of Dontre Hamilton is not an isolated incident, as other unarmed African American citizens have died at the hands of police, we are also calling for an open federal pattern and practice investigation of the City of Milwaukee Police Department. So 3 days before Christmas, we stand with this family to say we will not be deterred.
That's right.
And though the arc of the moral universe is long, it always bends toward justice.
Thank you. Christopher Amity of the ACLU of Wisconsin.
I'm Chris Amity. I'm the Executive Director of the ACLU of Wisconsin. ACLU is made up of all kinds of people, and I know that the members of the ACLU would want me to express our concern and our support to the Hamilton family in their quest for justice. And this really is a matter that affects everybody in our community, in fact, everybody in the state of Wisconsin. When it comes to justice, there are no out-of-towners. The unfortunate part, one of the most unfortunate parts of DA Chisholm's decision not to indict on any criminal charges is that it leaves lots of questions unanswered. There's a cloud of uncertainty about what really happened, and above all, who's responsible for it. If Officer Manning didn't violate the law, the criminal laws at least, then who is responsible? When, if ever, do criminal laws protect citizens from deadly force by police officers? Are police officers above the law? when those questions are in people's minds, how can the trust and cooperation that you want to have between police officers and the community flourish? It can't. And we're in a crisis situation right now where that trust has been undermined because of not just there's a lot that's going on. It's not just the decision there's a lot going on. It's not just the decision of the DA, but we have to address that. And city leaders now really have to provide some leadership and not only get the police department to a stage where officers will be accountable, but where the community can come together and make some positive change so that the police go back to protecting and serve, not overlording. Thank you.
We're going to have James Hall with the NAACP, and then a member of the Nation of Islam, and then we'll have Nate Hamilton.
The NAACP Milwaukee branch joins the family of Dontre Hamilton and the community in expressing our utter disappointment with the decision not to bring criminal charges in this matter. It is hard to fathom how Mr. Hamilton, under the circumstances, could be shot 14 times and killed by someone cloaked with authority to uphold the law, and those circumstances not even rise to the level of a trial. He was well within his rights to be in the park. He was not engaged in any wrongful conduct. This outcome, with regard to Mr. Hamilton, harkens back to the days of Jim Crow, when a black life could be taken with impunity. This decision, along with the decisions in Ferguson and in New York City, have caused many in our society across racial lines to question our system of justice. Quite frankly, this decision by DA Chisholm has further called into question the issue of whether or not there's an inherent conflict with district attorneys investigating police officers. In addition to the question more broadly of whether the grand jury system has outlived its usefulness in this day and time. So these are all questions we need to look at. Now, with regard to the Hamilton matter, the NAACP supports 4 things today, 5 actually. First, we must all recognize and support the rights of citizens to express their understandable concerns and frustrations, to protest. That's a right, it's the American tradition, and it's part of our democracy. So we must all recognize and support that right. Secondly, we encourage all protests to be peaceful. Obviously, nothing is served by negative behaviors. So we support the right to protest. We ask everyone, and including law enforcement, to respect and support that right. Thirdly, the NAACP joins the Hamilton family and the community in calling upon the United States Attorney and the Department of Justice, as has been previously stated, in conducting a separate, thorough investigation. We know that there is a precedent for for federal investigation conducting a separate review and finding a different result. It happened in the Rodney King matter. It happened locally in Frank Jude matter. So we ask that U.S. Attorney Santel approach this with an open mind and a thorough review of the facts and conduct a federal investigation in this matter. Fourth, we support the Hamilton family's efforts to explore, pursue, and obtain appropriate relief in any civil actions that they may pursue. And finally, as a local community, we must address the glaring issues that are laid bare by the Hamilton case. This includes community police relations, police accountability, matters such as CIT training, diversification of the department, as well as other matters on-body cameras, and other reforms that need to occur, including reforms of the Fire and Police Commission. We need police accountability in this city. Now, more broadly, we believe that if Black lives really matter, as we say that mantra, then we as a community must give attention to the dire circumstances of inequality and disparity that exist in our community, in our city, in our state, and we must take steps to eliminate those disparities and inequalities. Thank you.
We do have a number of groups here, and I don't want to forget that we also have, again, the representative from the Council for Spanish Speaking. So we know that we have our Latina and Latino members of our community also represented here today.
Nate Hamilton there consulting with John Safran before deciding who will speak next.
All power to the people, everybody. This is not the first time we've been here. Within the last 3 to 4 years, we done been here for Darius Simmons. We done been here for Derek Williams. We done been here for Corey Stingley. And now we here again for Dontre Hamilton. So it shows the pattern of behavior. This is nothing new from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But the rest of the nation is beginning to wake up and see the same thing is beginning to happen all over. So how can we stand here time and time again and allow an unjust system to continue to get away with murder? Now, in any case, if they say the police have the same rights as a citizen, what makes them have the ability to shoot 14 times in a public park where innocent bystanders could have been shot, hit, or anything could have happened, and the guy still walks away with self-defense? Now let's look at the facts. The feds has been here before. 2 years ago, they said that they was going to do a thorough investigation of Milwaukee Police Department, and we haven't heard anything, and it's 2014. In 2007, they came here and they said Milwaukee was second in the nation for police brutality and misconduct. They came here again when Derek Williams died in 2011 and said the same thing, and still nothing has been done. So we're asking the federal government to come in again and look at the Dontre Hamilton case and use the law the way the common folk will use the law. And when the grand jury came in with Derek Williams and they found the cops to be guilty, the same court systems who were asking for justice still turned their cheeks and said that we can't find these cops to be guilty of any charges. So what we really need to be saying today is, can the federal government do their job? And if not, then who can? That's right.
Now, lastly, I want to make sure that we have the Hamilton family represented, so I'm going to invite to the microphone Nate Hamilton on behalf of the family.
FOI, up front. Fists up till he finished, brothers.
My family, we cried too long. As a people, yes, we're done crying.
Yes, sir.
When injustice comes, we're not gonna cover up injustice with our tears. We're not gonna be, laid back and stay sheltered from justice. We deserve justice.
That's right.
Justice is our right.
Yeah.
My family. I love my family. I love my brother. So, this is a fight that we are gonna endure.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna stay strong.
Yes, sir.
We're not gonna waver.
That's right.
We're not gonna let it pass. We're not gonna turn our backs no more. That's what they waiting for us to turn our backs, for us to not look, for us not to see what's really going on. So we must wake the people up. We must show them that injustice does exist. But no longer will we cry. My family, we won't cry. So, the federal government, they know that justice has to come to the people. Why can't justice come to the people? Do we not deserve to be treated right? Are we the people that not build this community, this city? We sweat. We sweat every day at work. But then come home to be treated like pets to a system. We as people can control our own destiny. The people have the power already.
Yes, sir.
So on today we activating the power of the people. So the power of the people will not be deactivated until justice is consistent. We will stand. We will fight. My family loves you all the supporters. We gonna maintain. And on April 30th, we took a 31-year-old's life. He massacred my brother.
Yes, sir.
He stood there and looked at him. He sized him up, and he killed him with hate. He killed him with intent. And now he has the mental problem.
Come on, brother.
He been had the mental problem. The whole system has a mental problem. And no longer will we have a mental problem of depression. We won't sit here and have anger. We will turn that into positive energy. We'll release that upon this beast. This is a beast.
That's right.
And only the people can take down the beast. So on today, we activating the power of the people. All people, far and wide, come out. Let's stand together. Let's unite. We don't have to be that voice of reason. My family doesn't have to be that voice of reason to come out and say no violence. We don't. You know who has to be that voice of reason? The mayor has to be that voice of reason. The police chief has to be that voice of reason. The district attorney has to be the voice of reason. Not my family. Not any family that has to go through an injustice. Do we have to tell the people to calm? The people has been calm. The people has not stood up.
Come on, Nate.
So when will we stand up? We have to stand up. Activate the power of the people.
That's right.
We'll take a few questions from the press, and then we'll be finished for the day. Any questions?
Has the U.S. Attorney given you any idea if he's going to respond to your request for a federal investigation?
I have sent a request. I've left a message. I spoke with someone else in his office, and I was told that that investigation request will be made. I don't have a timetable, but I'm told that it will be pursued, and we'll be waiting for a response formally from the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Today you used the words, "you will continue to fight." If you do not get what you want from the federal government, where do you go from here?
One more time, Jermont.
That question, Nate, you used the words, "you will continue to fight." You're here on the steps of the federal courthouse hoping that the U.S. Attorney does something. If he does not look into your case, where does the family and the cause go from here?
Well, this cause goes from here. Like any time injustice present themselves to our community, there will be someone that feels uncomfortable. There will be somebody that understands and sees what's going on. We will continue to move the cloud of judgment of the district attorney and our other city officials so the light shines on the truth. So that's what we're going to continue to do. We're going to continue to move the clouds away so the truth comes and is shined on brightly so they cannot continuously throw us and push us and dog us and manipulate us no longer. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue to move. We're going to continue to unite a community, to stand together, gain a structure in our communities. We need to take over our communities back.
That's right. That's right.
We need to protect each other.
That's right.
We need to stop the violence in our communities.
That's right. Yeah.
So we can get rid of these pigs that kill us. Because that's what they are. They feed off of us, and we can't let them do that no more.
The question is, what recourse will we take at this point? We intend to pursue and exhaust every conceivable legal resource available. We do not have the ample, substantial resources that the state government and the federal government have, but John and I have both been down this road before, and we have prevailed. And we intend to exhaust every conceivable resource and every conceivable avenue to get justice for this really, really good family.
Yeah. Is it troubling to you that we seem to be seeing a nationwide trend of private trials for law enforcement?
It is troubling. It is very troubling to see the trend that's happening around the country right now. For the most part, policemen are good, decent, honest, mortgage-paying people. There's no question about that. But there is something really wrong. There is something really wrong when young African-American men can get shot down repeatedly, time after time after time, including a 12-year-old boy in Cleveland, and nothing happened. Yes, that is very, very troubling, and something has to be done.
I'm going to ask the question. You guys have obviously spoken out. You've talked. You've essentially said words to the DA. What today do you want to tell Officer Manny? He could be watching. What do you want to tell this officer in question?
Well, I think the thing that I'm hoping to hear from Officer Manny is, at the very least, an apology. The very least showing that he has the remorse that I would hope he would have of killing Dontre Hamilton on April 30th. Despite the facts, and more of those facts are going to come out, I have not heard yet in any of the submissions that he has provided any remorse, any concern that he has at least expressed openly about the death of this young man. And I hope at the very least that is something we're going to hear from him.
But I think as well, I think we are very confident we will show that Officer Manny violated Dontre Hamilton's constitutional rights in the most extreme way imaginable. But it's larger than that. There is an institutional protection of this kind of conduct that we will get to the bottom of. And the larger question becomes, why is this type of behavior, why is this type of police shooting institutionally protected? And that's what has to be found out.
Question at you today. People want to know. The question that we have for you today at the DA's press conference, you guys have been concerned about the 14 shots that Officer Manny fired at Dontre. In the DA's decision today at his press conference, he gave indication just how rapidly that clip was emptied in less than 3 seconds. Does that help your cause? I mean, when you saw the demonstration of just how quickly those 14 shots were let out of the gun.
Yeah, let me respond to that. In the press conference this morning, there was a simulation that would be utterly irrelevant in any trial.
Right.
It was a simulated, didn't represent the same conditions. Were that evidence to be presented at a trial, any judge would rule it irrelevant and inadmissible. Absolutely. It was a simulation.
There's no doubt a gun can be fired at a rapid rate. The question is, the officer has a right to defend himself if he is in the threat of imminent death or severe bodily injury. I haven't seen that evidence. What we've seen so far is we've seen injuries, contusions, and abrasions to Dontre Hamilton's head and face. And that's the part we don't understand. There is the ability for someone to resist if there is unreasonable force addressed against them, and that may very well have been what Dontre Hamilton was doing. So there's much more information that needs to come out, but that's a concern we have.
Some people for Nate, what does Nate have to say
To Chris Manning today.
Nothing personal.
So you asked the question, what would you say to the person who committed this heinous crime on my family member? Man. I would say anything everybody else would say. Convict! Indict! Send that killer cop to jail. There you go. That's what I would say.
One last question and then we'll finish for the day.
You guys have given many indications about, you guys have talked about the other cases in New York and Ferguson and things of that nature, but one thing that we have here is a firing of an officer. Officer Manning is no longer on the force of Milwaukee Police. Does that help you in any way? I mean, you have gotten something that these other cases nationally have not received. You have a firing. And and my second question to that, are you at all concerned about the conflict, how Chief Flynn can fire one, but yet the DA Chisholm points out that he believes the shooting was justified?
Well, we do have a termination of an officer, but again, to be very clear, that termination only related to what the department determined was an unreasonable pat-down search that he believed was against policies and procedures. He's already come out earlier, which is my bigger concern, of giving an opinion on the use of force. So I have the concern that he gave that opinion, but it still has taken many additional months for DA Chisholm to reach the conclusion that he reached. So it shows again that there was a constitutional violation, we believe. And that constitutional violation is what resulted in the altercation in the ultimate shooting. So that is the thing that we think is most important in this case that separates it from any other cases. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One last is that we really do urge peace and calm. We're all very disappointed, but there's more power in peace and calm. Thank you.
All right, Alex Flynn adding an important postscript to all of this. Carol Meekins has joined